A strange signal in the desert. The sun was hot and high. The sky was red and full of dust. A dry wind blew across the empty land. There was nothing but sand and broken rocks. A man walked alone. His name was Ray. He wore a dusty suit and heavy boots. His face was tired. His water was almost finished. His food was gone. Ray was a traveler. He searched old planets for lost ships and strange signs. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He just wanted to survive. His radio beeped. Beep. 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 Ray stopped. He looked at the small screen. A signal. Weak, far, strange. He pressed a button. "This is Ray. I hear your signal. Do you need help?" No answer, but the signal was real. And it was coming from the west. Ray looked at the sun. He had maybe 1 hour of power left in his suit. He could turn back or follow the signal. He turned west. The land was dry and broken. Old metal bones of a ship lay under the dust. Ray followed the signal until he saw something strange. A black ship, crashed, half buried in sand. One side was open. Smoke came out. He pulled out his scanner. It showed low power inside. No big weapons. No movement. Still, he was careful. Ray stepped inside. The air smelled like burning wires. The lights were dead. It was quiet. Too quiet. He walked slowly. His flashlight showed broken walls, sparks, and spilled tools. Then he heard it. A soft sound. Which, W-H. A cry. Not loud. Weak. He followed it. In the corner of the ship, behind a fallen door, he found her. An alien woman. Skin pale. Blue. Big black eyes. Thin arms. Her body shook as she held a small baby close. The baby cried softly. The woman looked at Ray with fear and pain in her eyes. She was scared. She was hungry. She was weak. Ray dropped to his knees. "It's okay," he said slowly. "I won't hurt you." The alien woman did not speak. She just stared. Her baby cried louder. Ray opened his bag. Only one food bar left. He looked at it. He looked at the alien woman. And her baby. He broke the food bar in half. He placed one piece on the floor and pushed it toward her. She did not move. Ray took off his gloves. He took a small bite from the other half. Then he showed her again. She understood. With shaking hands, she reached forward. She picked up the food and looked at it like it was gold. Then she gave it to her baby. The baby sucked on the soft food. The crying stopped. The ship went silent again. The alien woman looked at Ray. Her big eyes filled with tears. She said something in her language. Ray didn't understand the words, but he understood the feeling. Pain, relief, thank you. She looked down, holding her baby close. Then she cried, not loud, but deep, as if her heart was broken. Ray sat beside her. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just waited. After a while, she looked at him again. She pulled something from her pocket. A small round device, broken, a translator. She tried to fix it, but her hands were too weak. Ray gently took it from her. He looked at the wires. Maybe he could help. The alien whispered one word, a single word, Mara. Ray didn't know what it meant, but it stayed in his mind like a shadow. Something was wrong. Something had happened here, and this was just the beginning. The wind outside howled like a warning. Inside the broken ship, silence ruled. Only the soft breathing of the alien woman and her baby filled the dark room. Ray sat on the cold metal floor, still holding the small broken translator in his hands. He had been a traveler for many years, crossing dead planets, searching for lost tech and silent signals. But never had he seen something like this. Not a monster, not a threat. Just a mother, hungry, afraid, alone, The alien woman had stopped crying, but her face still carried pain. Her baby slept in her arms, finally quiet after eating. Ray watched them. He wondered how long they had been here. Why didn't anyone come to help them? The translator was old, but Ray had fixed worse. He pulled out a small tool from his pocket and began to work. Wires, chips, cracks. Time passed slowly. The baby made small noises in its sleep. The alien mother watched him with tired eyes. She didn't try to stop him. Maybe she had no more strength left to be afraid. After some minutes, the device sparked once, then glowed. Ray turned it on. A soft beep. The alien woman looked surprised. She whispered something, and the translator spoke in a broken voice. "You not enemy?" Ray shook his head slowly. "No, I'm just a man looking for answers." The woman closed her eyes for a second. Then she whispered again. "Ship attacked. Family gone. I hide. Baby hungry, too weak to move." Ray nodded. He felt a heavy stone in his chest. "Who attacked you?" The woman's hands gripped her baby tighter. Her voice cracked as she answered. "Black armored ones, hunters, no heart. Took our food. Burned our ship." Ray froze. He had heard of them. Raiders, pirates. Some were human, some were worse. He thought they were just stories. But now, sitting in front of a crying alien mother, he knew they were real. She continued. "My mate. He stayed to fight, to protect us. He told me to run." Ray looked around the ship. Burned walls, broken screens. Bullet holes. He could imagine the battle. The mother took a deep breath. "I ran, found this ship. It was empty. I sent a signal. No one came. Until now. Ray felt his heart beat harder. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a warning. These raiders were out there, and if they found her again— "I'll help you," Ray said softly. "We'll get out of here." The woman looked at him. "Why?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at her baby. Small, helpless, yet holding on to life. "Because I can," he finally said. "And because no one helped me when I needed it." There was a long silence between them. Two strangers, two worlds, but something was shared in that moment. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed outside the ship. Ray jumped to his feet. The woman's eyes widened in fear. She covered the baby with her body. Ray rushed to the ship's front. Through a cracked window, he saw movement. Not close, but not far enough. A shadow passed over the sand. Then another. He turned back. "We need to move, now." The woman stood. Slowly. She could barely walk. Ray offered his hand. She took it. He led her out of the ship, step by step. The sun was low now. The red sky was turning dark. They walked away from the wreckage, toward the hills in the distance. Ray's scanner beeped again, this time not from the signal, but from something else. Something was following them. Ray helped the mother climb over a broken rock. She was breathing hard. The baby began to cry again. Ray looked back. The ship was now a dot in the sand. Suddenly, a piece of metal fell from the woman's belt. Ray picked it up. It was a photo. Not digital. Real paper. Old. It showed the alien woman, her baby, and a tall male of her kind. He was smiling. Behind him was a strange flag, blue and white. And next to him, something Ray did not expect. A human, wearing a badge. Ray's eyes narrowed. "Who is this?" he asked, pointing to the human in the photo. The woman looked. Her lips trembled. "Your kind, friend, helped us before, long ago." Ray stared at the picture. That badge. It was the same symbol on his own jacket. A long forgotten explorer's mark. He had never thought it meant anything. But now, maybe it did. Maybe their meeting was not by chance. Maybe this baby was more important than either of them knew. He put the photo in his pocket. Then he heard another sound, this time closer, a sharp clicking noise. He turned slowly on top of the hill. A dark figure stood, watching. Ray's heart beat faster. He stood still, staring at the dark figure on top of the hill. The wind blew sand into his eyes, but he didn't blink. The figure didn't move. It was tall, fully covered in black armor that reflected the red light of the dying sun. A long weapon rested on its shoulder. For a moment, everything was silent. The alien woman behind Ray held her baby tight, her eyes wide with fear. She whispered something in her language, and the translator spoke softly. One of them, the same kind who killed my mate. Ray knew they were in danger. This was no ordinary bandit. This was a tracker, a silent hunter. These hunters never gave up once they had a scent. Ray had heard stories, but he never believed them. Now one stood right in front of him. The baby cried louder. The sound echoed in the quiet desert. The hunter tilted its head like it was listening. Then it took a step forward. Ray quickly pulled the alien woman down behind a rock. Don't move, he whispered. Hold the baby tight. He pulled out a small flare from his belt, his only defense. It would not kill the hunter, but maybe it would buy them time. He threw the flare far to the left. It hit the ground and burst into a bright red flame. Smoke rose quickly. The hunter turned toward the light. That was enough. Run, Ray said. They ran across the sand, each step heavy and slow. The woman struggled to keep up. Ray took the baby in one arm and helped her with the other. The baby was light but weak, so small, yet somehow strong enough to still cry. They moved fast, hiding behind rocks and small hills. Behind them, the flare died out and the clicking sound started again. The hunter was moving, following, silent but certain. They reached a cave hidden under a rocky slope. Ray ducked inside, helping the alien woman crawl in after him. The cave was dark and cold, but it gave them cover. They rested, breathing hard. The baby coughed and the woman looked down in worry. He's cold, she said through the translator. Ray handed her his heat pack. Use this, I'll watch outside. He crawled back to the cave entrance and peeked through the rocks. The hunter was there, slowly walking through the valley, scanning the ground. Not rushing. It didn't need to. It knew its prey was trapped. Ray looked back at the alien woman. She was singing something soft to her baby. The translator didn't work on music, but Ray understood. A lullaby, a mother's last hope. He will not stop, she said when she saw Ray's face. They hunt until there's nothing left. Ray clenched his fists. There has to be a way. He searched through his gear. Nothing strong enough to fight, but maybe a trap. The cave had a narrow entrance. If he could collapse the rocks. He looked around and found a loose metal rod from his backpack frame. He began digging quickly, placing stones above the cave mouth, ready to push them down when the hunter entered. It was a risky plan, but the only one they had done as he worked. The alien woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small silver disc. She handed it to Ray. My mate gave this to me. It records truth. Memory crystal. If we die, it must live. Ray looked at the disc, then at the baby. He nodded and placed it in his pocket. We're not dying today, he said. Minutes passed like hours. Then footsteps, slow, heavy. The hunter had found the cave. Ray held his breath. The shadow grew larger at the entrance. He waited. Closer, closer. Then he pushed the rod. The rocks fell with a crash, blocking the cave entrance. Dust filled the air. A loud thud. Silenced. Ray coughed and waved the dust away. He looked outside through a small gap. No movement. The hunter was gone or buried. He turned back. The alien woman was crying again, but this time in relief. The baby was warm now, resting. Ray sat down beside them. "We'll move at first light," he said. "Find a way off this planet." The woman touched his arm. "You are not like the others," she said. "You give even when you have nothing." Ray didn't speak. He just looked at the baby. He thought of the photo. The human wearing his badge, standing beside her mate. He thought of what the woman had said. "Your kind helped us before." What was this old connection? Who was that man? Why did Ray carry the same badge? There was a past here, a forgotten one. But before he could think more, his scanner beeped again. Not a signal from the hunter. This was something else. A ship, flying above, heading their way. The sound of engines grew louder. Ray peeked through the narrow hole in the cave wall. A ship was moving in the sky, small, fast, and black. It hovered for a moment, then slowly turned away, heading north across the horizon. Ray waited until it was out of sight before he let out a breath. The alien woman sat quietly behind him, rocking her baby in her arms. The child had stopped crying, but he still looked weak. Too weak. The mother's eyes were tired, her skin pale, but she stayed strong. For her child, for survival. Ray sat down beside her. "They're looking for you," he said. That wasn't a random patrol. The translator buzzed as she answered. "They know I'm alive. They know the child lives." "Why?" Ray asked. "What do they want from you?" The alien woman looked down at her baby. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They want him. Not to kill, but to take, to study, to use." Ray was silent. He had seen war. He had seen greed. But this was different. This was personal. The woman opened a small pouch on her belt. Inside was a folded paper, the photo Ray had seen earlier. She pointed to the human in the picture. "This man. He saved us once. He said peace was possible. He gave us hope. He wore the same badge as you." Ray stared at the photo. The man looked younger, stronger, but the badge was the same. Ray's badge. The explorer's mark from an old mission, one he had never understood. "Until now, I don't know who he is," Ray said. "But maybe I was sent here because of him." The woman nodded slowly. "You are like him, not just in badge, but in heart." Ray turned the photo over. There was writing on the back, faded, but still readable. "For Namara and Kala. Trust the ones who carry the flame." Ray's eyes widened. Namara, the woman in front of him, and Kala, her baby? He looked at her. "You're Namara?" She nodded. "That was my name, before the war. Before the fear." Ray reached into his pocket and took out the small memory crystal she had given him earlier. "This holds the truth, doesn't it?" She placed her hand over his. "Yes, it holds the memory of my people, of what happened, of why we ran. If it is destroyed, the truth dies with us." Ray held the crystal tight. He suddenly felt its weight, not just in his hand, but in his chest. There was more at stake than one life, more than even this child. There was history, injustice, and perhaps a chance to change something. "We need to get you out of here," Ray said. "Somewhere safe." "There is no safe place," Mara replied. "Not for us, not anymore." Ray shook his head. "Maybe not here, but there are still stations, human ones, where good people exist. I know someone, a doctor. If we reach his lab, he can help the baby." The mother looked unsure. "Will he help an alien child?" Ray didn't hesitate. "If I ask him, yes." She looked into Ray's eyes for a long time. Then she nodded. "Then we go." They waited until night. When the stars covered the sky and the wind covered their steps, they left the cave. Ray led the way with his scanner, searching for a signal, any signal, to call for help. After hours of walking through darkness, they reached the edge of a canyon. Ray's scanner beeped again. A small emergency beacon buried under the rocks, an old one, probably from a crashed ship. Ray began digging with his hands, pulling out metal and wires. Mara held the baby close, whispering to him in her language. Finally, Ray found it. The beacon still had power. Weak, but enough for one signal. He pressed the button. A red light blinked. Help signal sent. The device said in a robotic voice. Ray looked up at the sky. Now they had to wait. He sat beside Namara and took a small flask of water. He gave her half. She drank slowly, then passed it to the baby's lips. We were scientists, she said after a while. My mate and I, we studied life. We believed in peace with humans. But when the war came, everything changed. Our friends vanished. The black armored hunters arrived. They said peace was a lie. Ray listened in silence. She continued. They killed the ones who remembered, burned our books, took our young. But we ran. We carried our past in this crystal. We carried hope. Ray looked at her and whispered, now that hope is in your child. Nara looked at the sleeping baby. His name is Kala. It means light in the dark. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the canyon, a light in the sky. A ship. Small. Silver, with blue lights. Ray stood up and waved his hands. They came, he said, smiling. We're not alone. The silver rescue ship landed without sound, like a falling star kissing the ground. Its lights cut through the darkness, and the rear hatch opened with a soft hiss. Ray stood protectively in front of Nara and Kala, unsure whether to trust what waited inside. But then a figure stepped out, a short man in a clean white suit, his face older, lined with wisdom, not war. Ray, he called out. Ray stepped forward. Dr. Ellen. The doctor rushed down the ramp. His eyes widened when he saw Mara and the child. You weren't joking, he whispered. An alien. And a baby? They need help, Ray said. The child is sick. No food. They've been hunted. Ellen nodded. Get in, quickly, before someone sees. They entered the ship and the ramp closed behind them. Inside was warm, quiet, and full of soft lights and screens. Ellen led them to a medical room and gently scanned the baby. Kala lay silently, breathing. Weakly, malnourished, the doctor said. He needs a protein source from his native biology. Human food won't work. His organs are slowing. Ray's jaw tightened. What can we do? There's only one place, Ellen said, lowering his voice. The Eden Zone, Ray frowned. That place is sealed. Exactly, the doctor replied. It was an alien agriculture ship. Crashed 10 years ago. Still alive inside, food systems, plants, genetic storage. But off limits by law. Humans fear contamination. Aliens call it cursed. Nara, listening through the translator, spoke softly. I've heard of it. A garden that no longer grows. Ellen looked at her. It still grows, but not for us. Ray clenched his fists. Take us there. The doctor hesitated. It's risky. He's just a baby, Ray said. He deserves to live, Ellen nodded. Strap in. The ship rose into the sky once more, cutting through clouds like a blade. As they flew, Namara sat beside Ray. You risk much for us. You shouldn't have to ask, he replied. No mother should. They reached the Eden Zone by dawn. From above, it looked like a green bubble in the middle of red desert. A giant dome, half cracked, half glowing. Vines climbed the outside like fingers trying to escape. The ship landed on a broken landing pad beside a wide gate marked with warning. Signs in many languages. Ellen stayed behind to guard the ship. Ray, Namara, and Kala entered the dome through a narrow service tunnel. The air inside was thick, damp, and full of life. Green vines, glowing fruits, tall trees, some familiar, others strange. The dome was quiet, but it pulsed like it was alive. "This place is beautiful," Namara said, holding her baby close. "Like home." Ray scanned the area. "Find anything your kind used to grow?" She nodded, pointing to a large purple tree. Its fruit looked like small glowing pears. She reached out, plucked one, and pressed it to Kala's lips. The baby drank the juice and gave a small sound, a faint, weak giggle. Ray and Namara both froze. Then she laughed softly. He remembers this taste. But the moment of joy didn't last long. A sound echoed through the dome, not birds. Not machines. Steps. Heavy, slow steps. Ray turned. We're not alone. From the thick forest, shadows moved. Tall figures, two of them, armored, like the hunter from before. But these were different. Their armor was mossy old, and they didn't attack. They just watched. Namara whispered, "Guardians. Left behind when the ship crashed. Protectors of the garden." Ray raised his hands. "We don't want trouble." The child needed food. One of the guardians stepped forward. Its voice was deep, slow. The translator shook but worked. "You carry the blood of peace." Ray frowned. "What do you mean?" The guardian looked at Kala. "This child is more than he seems. He carries human and alien memory, unity, a key to the future." Nara's eyes widened. "You recognize him?" "He is born from two worlds. A bridge. Long ago, we were told one would come. He must survive." Ray stepped back in shock. "You knew this would happen?" The guardian pointed to a glowing tree nearby. "Feed him well. Take what you need. Then go. Others will come." Ray quickly filled a bag with the special fruit. Namara held her baby close, whispering blessings. The guardians did not move, but their eyes followed Kala with something close to awe. As they turned to leave, the dome shook slightly. Ray looked up. "Someone's found us." The guardians stepped into the shadows. Ray, Nara, and Kala ran back through the tunnel. They reached the ship, and Ellen opened the door fast. "Go! Go!" Ray shouted. The ship rose just as black shapes appeared in the sky behind them. Ray looked at the baby, now sleeping peacefully. "He's not just a child," he whispered. "He's a message." Mara smiled with tears in her eyes. A light in the dark. The ship flew fast across the sky, cutting through clouds like a blade. Inside, silence hung in the air. Ray sat near the window, watching the desert pass below, and Mara held Kala close to her chest. The baby now slept peacefully, his skin no longer pale. The fruit from the forbidden garden had saved him. For the first time in days, he looked calm, safe. But the peace didn't last long. A sudden alarm beeped on the control panel. Ellen rushed from the back of the ship. His face was pale. "They're tracking us," he said. "They followed our heat trail." Ray stood up. "How long until they reach us?" "Minutes," Ellen replied. "A black hunter ship. Bigger than before. Military grade." Ray looked at Mara. She didn't panic. She just kissed her baby's forehead and nodded. "We fight if we must," she said softly. Ellen looked confused. "Fight? With what?" Ray opened a hidden compartment in the ship wall. Inside were two small blasters, a pulse grenade, and a smoke canister. "It's not much," he said, "but we'll buy time." Ellen flew the ship lower, trying to lose the signal in the hills. But the hunter ship was faster. It soon appeared. Behind them, dark, winged, and silent like death itself. "We're not going to make it to the next port," Ellen said. "We need to land, now." Ray nodded. "Find cover, somewhere rocky." The ship dropped fast and landed between sharp cliffs. Dust flew everywhere. Ray and Mara and Ellen jumped out and ran to the rocks. Ray handed Mara the smoke canister. "When I say run, cover your path and don't stop," "What about you?" she asked. "I'll slow them down." Before she could argue, the hunter ship landed nearby. The ramp dropped and two armored figures stepped out, larger than the one before. One of them wore a long red stripe on its chest plate. A leader. Ray stepped out, hands raised. "They're not soldiers," he shouted. "The woman and child are civilians. Leave them alone." The leader raised its arm. A small light scanned Ray's body. Then the translator on its chest crackled. "The child belongs to us." "He belongs to no one," Ray replied. "He's a living being. He's free." The second hunter stepped forward and aimed a weapon at Ray. But before he could fire, a small blast exploded at their feet. Smoke covered the air. Ray rolled to the side and fired his blaster twice. One shot hit the second hunter's leg. It fell with a crash. "Now!" he shouted. Mara ran through the smoke with Kayla in her arms. Ellen followed her, leading them through the cliffs. Ray stayed back, covering the path with his last pulse. Grenade. The explosion echoed through the canyon, shaking the stones. The leader hunter stepped through the smoke, his armor cracked but still strong. He faced Ray with cold red eyes. "You were warned," he growled. Ray raised his blaster again. "I don't care." They fought in silence, one man against a machine-like warrior. Ray dodged 2 hits, fired once, then got knocked to the ground. The blaster flew from his hand. The hunter grabbed Ray by the collar and lifted him up. "You protect something you don't understand," it said. "That child is a weapon, not a miracle." Ray looked it straight in the eyes. "He's both. But he's still just a child." The hunter raised its arm to strike, but then paused. A soft sound came from behind. Footsteps. And single quotes Mara. She stood there, holding the crystal, the one that held her people's memory. She spoke loudly. "If you kill him, you destroy your last chance at peace." The hunter looked at her. "Peace is already dead." "Then let the truth speak," she said, and she threw the crystal at the ground. It broke open. Light burst from it. Images danced in the air. Alien scientists, humans and aliens shaking hands. Families, children, laughter, war, fire. A trail, even. The hunter stopped moving. "You were one of us once," then Mara said, tears on her face. "You stood beside my mate. You believed in the dream." The hunter looked at the floating images. Then slowly it lowered Ray to the ground. "I remember," it said. Voice suddenly soft. Ray gasped for breath, staring in shock. The leader stepped back and turned to the fallen comrade. "Call them off," it ordered. "We're done here." Then he looked at Kala. "Protect the child," he said to Ray. "He will change everything. Or destroy it." With that, the hunters returned to their ship and vanished into the sky. Ray fell to his knees. Namara helped him up, her hands shaking. "You risked your life," she whispered. "So did you," Ray said. "We did it together." He looked at the child, and for the first time, Ray saw not a refugee, but a future. The desert wind was soft that morning. The sky, once filled with fire and noise, had gone silent again. Ray sat on a flat rock just outside a small cliffside shelter, watching the sun rise over the endless dunes. Behind him, inside the safe house, Nara held her baby Kala close to her chest. The child slept peacefully, his chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. His color had returned, his strength growing each day. But Ray knew the peace wouldn't last forever. Ellen came out of the shelter, holding a data pad. "Signal came through," he said, his voice quiet. "A message from the Orion Refuge. They've opened a corridor for non-human survivors. We have 30 hours to reach the launch port." Ray nodded, still staring at the horizon. "And after that, they close the gate, maybe for good." Ray stood, brushing sand from his jacket. Then we won't be late. Inside, Mara looked up as Ray entered. Her eyes held both relief and sadness. We are always running, she said softly through the translator. Ray knelt beside her. Not forever. There's a place waiting now, a real one, not hiding, not fearing, she nodded. And will you come? Ray looked at Kala. The child opened his eyes, large, calm, and bright. They didn't look like human eyes or alien ones. They looked like something new. I can't, Ray said. This world still needs voices. I've seen what people become when they forget the truth. Nara gently placed her hand over his. You are not just a traveler. You are a witness, a protector. Ray smiled. And he, Kala, he's the promise. They prepared quickly. Ellen loaded supplies into a small land cruiser. The drive to the launch port would take hours, and the road wasn't safe. Though the hunters had left, others still roamed the dunes. Raiders, thieves, machines gone rogue. As they traveled, Ray handed Mara a small chip. Backups from the memory crystal, he explained, in case anything happens. This history. Can't die again. She held the chip tightly. It won't. The journey was rough. Heat waves blurred the road. Twice they had to hide from passing drones. Once, a storm hit so hard the engine nearly failed. But by nightfall, the tall towers of the Orion launch port appeared on the horizon, sharp against the starry sky. Port was quiet, few lights, fewer people. They met with a refugee coordinator, a tired woman with gray eyes. She scanned Mara and Kala and nodded. You're approved, 1 child, 1 adult. Interstellar priority class. You'll be sent to the green zone on Nova 3. Ellen stayed by the cruiser, but Ray walked with them to the ship ramp. The goodbye felt heavy. I should say thank you, Namara said, but it feels small. Ray shook his head. You don't need to. I didn't help you because you're alien. I helped you because you're a mother. She looked at Kala. The child smiled, almost as if he understood. Ray bent down. You're going to see stars I've never seen. Worlds I'll never touch, but you'll carry our story. Don't forget that. Kala reached out, touching Ray's cheek. In that brief moment, Ray felt something strange. A calm, a connection. Like thousands of memories flickered in the space between skin and spirit. The baby had changed. He wasn't just surviving now, he was becoming. The ramp lifted slowly. The doors closed. Ray watched as the ship took off, lifting higher and higher into the night. A streak of light, then a star vanishing into the sky. He stood there long after the ship had gone. Ellen came beside him. You okay? Ray nodded. He's safe now. You could have gone with them. Ray looked up. Someone has to stay behind. Tell the story. Make sure no one turns away next time. Ellen smiled. You think there will be a next time? Ray shrugged. There always is. But maybe next time, someone like him will already be there, waiting. Days passed. Ray returned to the cave where it all began. He fixed the translator device, cleaned the broken panels, planted seeds from the forbidden garden outside in the desert soil. Small signs of life. He sent a message every morning, a broadcast. To anyone listening, once I gave my last meal to a stranger. She cried. Her baby lived. And I remembered what being human really means. Some days there was no reply, but one morning a child's voice answered back.